Hey there Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. Okay, so I am here today with the 6 things that the Saturn in Pisces / Saturn in the 12th house individual wishes they knew when they were 20 years old. So this is really looking at the Saturn return, and the Saturn return happens at around the ages of 28 to 30 years old. And this is when Saturn returns to its natal position within your birth chart, okay? But the whole premises of this is that this is the 30-year-old self, okay, looking back at the 20-year-old self and really going over that whole maturity process, going through the lessons that this individual has learned. Also, I just want to say that this video may also resonate if you have Saturn conjunct your Neptune within your birth chart, but also even if you have Neptune in your 10th house to an extent within your birth chart as well. However, before we do get started, if you would like to know more information all about your Saturn sign, your Saturn house, along with your Capricorn house and your 10th house, so your midheaven within your natal birth chart, then I have created a Capricorn season / archetype ebook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a link to that ebook in the description box so that you can pick up your copy today if you would like. Alright, so with all those intros out of the way, Saturn in Pisces, Saturn in the 12th house. Let's do this. Hi, so my name is Pisces. I am 30 years old, and these are the 6 things that I wish I knew at 20. So the first thing I wish I knew at 20 is how to hold myself accountable for my actions. See, I often would sacrifice my long-term goals, the things that I really wanted to achieve, accomplish, and strive for. I would sacrifice those things for others. My father was kind of absent from my life growing up. He was always working. He was just always gone, and I will say that from this, I've heard of other people with this placement whose fathers were a drunk, they were addicts, they were alcoholics. So in that respect, I'm pretty grateful that my father was not an alcoholic or that he had some sort of addiction. So for me, I was kind of left directionless. I didn't really know exactly what I really wanted in life. I wasn't really sure of direction of the things that I wanted to achieve, maybe because of that lack of structure that I had. And not to mention, any time that I made a mistake, I messed up, my parents didn't really punish me, partly because I didn't really share. I was quite secretive over what I was up to, people I was hanging out with, just basically what I was doing. So my parents weren't necessarily in the know into my life. And to be honest, I have heard of some people with this placement whose parents would go out partying on weekends, things like that. And I think that may have encouraged people with this placement to do the same. But for me, yes, my parents weren't necessarily partying all the time, but they just weren't really aware or in the know as to what I was doing with my life. I just never really learned how to hold myself accountable for the mistakes I made, what to do. I was quite avoidant of taking responsibility as well. I just didn't really like the thought of having to go to school, get an education, work up the corporate ladder, all these things I just felt were a struggle for me. I found it really hard to focus and concentrate. Maybe again, just because I didn't know what I wanted, I didn't know what direction to go into. So back then, I was a little lost. I feel like I subconsciously learned how to pin the blame onto other people. So I justified my actions by using other people's behavior as a way to call them out. So, for example, if I ever did do anything that maybe made me feel a little bit guilty on the inside, I would justify that to myself by saying, oh, well, other people have done that, or oh, mine isn't as bad as these people over here, so it's fine. I just tended to deflect a lot of responsibility, you know? So instead of taking responsibility, I just pinned it on to others. Of course, I didn't really understand it and see it at the time, but now, being the age that I am, now I am 30 years old. I've went through my Saturn return and I've learned a lot. I've learned that by me holding myself accountable for my actions, I'm actually respected a lot more. And by becoming more aware of my actions and my mistakes, and by taking responsibility, I've matured a lot. And yes, certain things that I hold myself accountable for may not feel comfortable, but I've really had to grow in that and just be comfortable with the unfamiliar, be okay with the unknown, with things that maybe aren't easy. That's another thing, I guess, is anything that didn't feel very good, I had the tendency to just reject it and be like, no, I'm not doing it, not doing it. Doesn't make me feel good. I'm not gonna get some sort of high from this anyway, so bye. But yeah, I realized that not everything in life has to feel good. The second thing that I wish I knew when I was 20 is how to tell people to take a hike and leave my life. Seriously, in my 20s, I realized just how abusive and emotionally manipulative my relationships were. I would do certain favors. I would let my boundaries be crossed by partners in my life, and I was just totally okay with that at the time. I didn't even necessarily realize it at the time, but now, being the age that I am, oh my gosh, when I look back, I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? Why did I not just tell these people to leave, to go away? But I was so fogged. I was so disillusioned by it. I thought that it was what I needed. I just was not really aware of my own boundaries back then. So I've really learned over the years how to develop my boundaries, but also how to reinforce my boundaries. Because what I've also learned with that point is that yes, boundaries are boundaries, but even if someone kept poking at my boundaries, poking and poking and poking, I had to learn how to constantly push back and say, no, I'm reinforcing it. I don't care how many times you're gonna come at me and want to cross this boundary once again. I had to keep pushing back and reinforcing it for myself. And that truly helped me build a backbone. Building a backbone has definitely been something that I have learned over the years. So being the age that I am now, I feel so much more respect for myself because of the boundaries that I have established. I feel much more respect for myself because now I'm able to say to somebody, no. Now I'm able to say to somebody, I don't like the way you're doing that. I am able to decline certain tasks, chores, meetings, these types of things. I'm able to decline them and be okay with that. Yeah, before I just thought I had to keep saying yes, being the guest person, or doing favors for others and trying to fix, trying to help, trying to heal everybody else, trying to rescue them, but no. No, I don't need to rescue anybody. The third thing that I wish I knew when I was 20 is how to let go of the notion that I'm a bad person if I am not serving other people. Yeah, I was such a people pleaser when I was younger. I was very submissive. I did not really know about my own boundaries, and so people often would violate and abuse my boundaries, but yet I wasn't even aware of what my boundaries were to begin with. I exhausted myself a lot when I was younger because I kept thinking that I had to be really productive even whenever my whole body, my whole inner world even was telling me to stop. I just didn't know my own limits back then. And so if I wasn't being productive, I could have just seen myself as weak. But then on the opposite side of this, I also found myself doing absolutely nothing some days. Literally nothing. And on those days, I felt so bad. I just felt like crap. I feel like I just put so much pressure on myself to be there for everyone all the time, constantly be switched on all the time, that I would just end up exhausting myself and just burning out completely. So for me, I truly had to learn how to find a happy medium. How to, yes, be okay with serving others whenever I wanted to serve others and be there, but at the same time, serve myself. The fourth thing I wish I knew at 20 is how to recognize my achievements, my accomplishments, even if other people did not recognize them. I often felt like I was never good enough. I was never good enough for members of authority, for my boss, for my manager, feeding into the whole people-pleasing thing, but constantly hitting these walls, these blockages, because I just wasn't getting back what I really felt deep within me that I deserved. So because of this, I often would play the victim. I would victimize myself. I would really pity myself. And even in those pity stages, I would just want to run away. I would just want to escape. In an unhealthy way, I would try to self-medicate these things to help numb it. But what I come to realize, being the age that I am now, is that everyone is going through their own thing. And I cannot control who says, good job, or keep going. I basically had to learn how to discipline and establish myself behind closed doors, within my own solitude. And besides, what I have also learned is that I work so much better whenever I am in solitude. I get so much done. I surprise myself. And come to think of it, I realize just how much I get done whenever I don't feel under pressure. Whenever I'm able to be more free-flowing, whenever there's not all of these strict stern rules and regulations placed upon me, which can just really overwhelm me. Fifth thing I wish I knew at 20 is that I do not need to rely on crutches to help me live my life. But at the same time, it's okay, provided that I'm aware of the purpose and the intention. So growing up, I would say that I had a pretty addictive personality. I would drink a lot of coffee, so caffeine. I would eat a lot of chocolate, get the sugar rush from it. Though, to be fair, I have heard of people with displacement who have turned to certain crutches that maybe are a bit more detrimental to their health. So for that, I'm kind of grateful, you know, but still, looking back, I tended to rely on these things to get me going, to give me that buzz, to give me that high. But I was doing it in a very unconscious way. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I need to have coffee. I need to every single day. So I ended up getting myself into this dependency with coffee, which I guess a lot of people are around the world. They are. A lot of us are dependent on it. But by becoming aware of that dependency, I was able to assess it and just be more in control of what I was consuming. To be fair, I did used to drink like 3 cups of coffee a day, but now it's down to 1, so yeah. I have definitely cut back a lot, but the main thing for me is just being aware of my intention and my purpose behind it rather than using it mindlessly. Even when it came to television, I would just unknowingly watch so many hours of Netflix, so many hours off it, and before I knew it, just the whole day was gone. So there was just no awareness, zero awareness. But now I'm so much more aware. I'm so much more aware of the things that I use and consume in a way that can either be healthy or detrimental. I think looking back, I use these things as a way to not address particular emotions within myself. Yeah. But now I would say that I have a much more healthier relationship with these things. And I am a lot more in control, and I'm a lot more disciplined, and I'm a lot more honest with myself as to my intentions behind consuming these things. And the sixth and final thing that I wish I knew when I was 20 is really how to come to terms with my fears of losing control and just being able to give up control. See, when I was younger, I would sometimes refuse to drink. Now, of course, I was 20, I was not 21 years old, sorry, but I did go to some parties and I got a little bit scared, I'm not gonna lie. I was a little bit scared over whether or not I should have consumed alcohol. So I would refuse the alcohol because I subconsciously knew that I wouldn't be in control of my body anymore. But then again, through these very fears, that I ended up just losing control anyway, because what I would do is I would often suppress my deeper sensitivities. I would stuff them down, and then it would just end up backfiring on me anyway. And so then I became so overwhelmed by constantly just trying to control my emotions, suppress, deny. So I became so overwhelmed, and then I would just click, like something within me would just explode. And so I needed to feel this release just to take away the pain. I remember just getting so consumed by my inner world that I found myself in this cycle where I would say, no, I'm not gonna have an alcoholic beverage, but then because of how hurt I felt, I would have that alcoholic beverage to take the pain away, to numb it. But because I then would give in, I felt guilty after. I just had all of these negative thoughts going on in my head saying, why did you do that? You shouldn't have taken that. You weren't in control. Who did you talk to last night? What did you do last night? Just all of that overwhelming pressure that was going on in my brain. But what I come to realize is that there were deeper issues, deeper underlying issues going on beneath the surface that I just was not aware of. But after actually going for therapy, I went to speak with somebody about this, I have been able to come to terms with my own inner world, with my own fears, with my fear of losing control, and also with my fear of just giving up control. By me going for therapy, it's been such a therapeutic way for me to let everything out and not to be judged. Growing up, I have certainly matured in my emotional world, and I've really learned how to release so many emotions that I stuffed down for a very long time. Okay, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video on the 6 things that Saturn in Pisces / Saturn in the 12th house wishes they knew at the age of 20. Now, if you do have any of these placements within your chart, but also if you have Saturn conjunct your Neptune, or if you have Neptune in the 10th house, then let us know what you thought of the video in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, thank you for subscribing, and of course if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then go right ahead and click that subscribe button. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye!